Hi everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to the first video of 2026. Hope that everyone had a good break over the long holidays and yes, we are finally back to work. We just wanted to take this time to thank all the supporters who have been watching this channel very closely for the past 1 year. We hope to bring, of course, more value and perspective on property launches, especially in this market where it's so uncertain. And of course, usually agents will always tell you all the good stuff about the launches. Hey, but for those who have been following us for long enough, you know that this channel has always been very objective. When a project is good, we definitely will highlight the good points, but when a project is not that good, okay, we will also highlight these downsides so that buyers like yourself can actually weigh out these pros and cons and make a decision for themselves. Anyways, today's video we are going to talk about how a not so recent change in the government policy has actually sort of screwed buyers over, especially if you bought into this specific project or any other projects just before the 2022 ruling by URA. So without much further ado, let's jump right in. I'm sure many of you have heard about this GFA harmonization many times, but I'll just reiterate very briefly over here. One of the major changes is that with the new GFA harmonization, aircon ledges will no longer be considered part of the gross floor area, which means that the developer cannot sell this area to the buyers. So on paper, it might seem smaller, but actually what you're getting is still the same sort of area as compared to a property that was pre-harmonization. Okay, this change, coupled with the other changes such as being measured to the middle of the wall, no more void areas, has resulted in a reduction in the sellable floor area for developers by 7 to 8%. Okay, so this also means that buyers, technically, they are able to buy slightly cheaper in terms of quantum prices. I will touch on this shortly. What are some examples post and pre-harmonization? Okay, but this is actually quite important moving forward because all the properties ever since 2023 will follow this new ruling. So with GFA harmonization, the first thing we saw was the dip in land bid prices. So all this time, as agents, we have always been conditioned, or rather based on precedents, we have always been seeing that every subsequent plot of land, it gets more expensive. Okay, because today when the government sell the first plot 50 cents, they won't sell you back 40 cents for a second plot, unless of course it's more inferior, maybe it's closer to the highway, small plot of land, whatsoever. But the general trend is that every subsequent plot of land is going to be more expensive, coupled with the fact that of increasing construction costs. All this will actually push property prices up, and hence agents always tell you to buy today, don't buy tomorrow, and the best time to buy was always last year or yesterday. Okay, but by right, from the past precedents, what we have seen, every subsequent plot of land is increasing. Okay, for example, one of the very common examples that we always use is actually the West Coast area. Okay, so in 2015, Park Rivera was bidded at 551 per square foot, followed by Twin View at 592 per square foot per plot ratio in 2017. And lastly, in 2018, Whistler Grand was awarded to CDL at $800 per square foot per plot ratio. So in just 3 years, okay, the land bid actually increased by 45% compounded. What does this mean for buyers? So on average, the 3 bidders, 990 square feet at Park Rivera, they actually launched about 1.16 mil. So if we actually factor into account this 45% increase in land bid prices, this same 990 square feet from 1.16 actually jumps to about 1.6 million in just 3 years. So this is actually the significance of the land bid prices being more expensive. But with harmonization, you notice how instead of becoming more expensive, the land bid prices actually fell. For example, okay, in the Lentor area, Hillock Green, okay, was actually bidded at 1,100 in September 2022. Less than 1 year later, a harmonized project, the first harmonized project Lentor mentioned, was actually bidded at 985. This is a 11% drop in the land bid price. Similarly for Tembusu and Katong, okay, Tembusu was actually awarded at $1,302 per square foot. But Emerald of Katong, less than 1 year later, was awarded at only $1,069 per square foot per plot ratio. This is a 17.9% drop. And lastly, of course, we have Pine Tree Hill. Okay, Pine Tree in the Pine Grove area, it was a 7% decrease from about 1,318 for Pine Tree Hill in 2022 to 1,223. Okay, in 2023 for Narra Grove. So a lot of the Pine Tree Hill buyers were stuck because a lot of the agents tell them, hey, the next plot of land is going to be more expensive, it's going to be more expensive. But when the land bid price came out, it actually became cheaper. Okay, so by right, with harmonization, the land bid prices should get cheaper, but an exception is actually this project called Narra Residences. So if you actually take a look at Narra Residences, it actually follows the pre-harmonization trend. So one of the very first properties, or rather the newer ones, Dairy Farm Residences, which was a mixed development with commercial at first story, okay, it was awarded $830 in 2018. In 2022, the next plot of land called Botany was actually awarded at $980. Last year, Narra was awarded and it will be launching very shortly. And this was actually awarded at $1,020 per square foot. So this is a steady increment. So the first thing when you see this increment instead of decreasing because of harmonization, I think the first question that I actually asked myself was that did the developer overbid for this land plot? So I went to do a little bit of research back into the tender details. There were only 2 bidders for this plot of land. And of course, surprise, surprise, the second bidder was none other than Sim Lian, the developer for Botany. As if they haven't learned their lesson from how long it took to sell Botany. But that's not the main point. The main point is that Sim Lian, having had the experience of selling an earlier dairy farm development, was only confident to bid at $829 per square foot, which is 23% cheaper than the current awarded land bid price. And this is still more expensive than one of the very recent launch just last year, towards the end of last year, which is a city fringe, very close to the Beauty World area, and it was only doing $800 per square foot per plot ratio. Does this potentially mean that Narra could have been 23% cheaper? Maybe, but we have also seen that even when the land bids are low, developers might not launch it cheaply because of their profit margin. Okay, so moving to profit margin, if I take a look at the past performance for dairy farm as well as Botany, dairy farm actually mark up at an average of about 30% profit margin, while Botany did a 20% profit margin. So if I were to actually even this out, at a 15% profit margin based on the break-even price for Narra, plus a conservative 5% GFA harmonization. By right, it's a 7 to 8%, but I did a bit more conservative. By right, based on the break-even price of 2029, Narra should be selling at around 2004 on average. Based on profit margin, based on harmonization. But the developer has actually released the starting from prices, which is again ridiculous. They are starting from 1,009 plus per square foot, and this is even lower than their break-even price. Is this even possible? Technically yes, but it's extremely rare. So this presents an opportunity for buyers who are looking at specifically the 3 bedrooms and smaller bedroom types. So why is the developer able to do this kind of pricing strategy? Based on my analysis, there can only be 2 reasons, or rather there are 2 reasons. The first and more obvious reason is that the developer is loading the premium on the bigger bedroom types. So for example, if you take a look at the 4-bedroom compact 1152 square feet, which is starting from about 2.4 million, this actually translates to about 2001 per square foot. 2001 is starting from. On average, it might be doing up to 2002 to 2003, which is in line with outskirt prices. As for the 5-bedder, the quantum price is definitely scary. It's 3.8 million for 5-bedroom. I can get a same 5-bedroom in Clementi area, for the same price. But because this is a much larger size at 1658 square feet, this again translates to a PSF of about 2003 starting from, but on average it should similarly do about 2004-ish to 2005, which is back to what we calculated based on 15% profit margin and 5% harmonization, which is 2004-50. Before we go into the second reason, some buyers will ask whether this makes sense, whether such a high loading on the bigger bedroom types will still drive consumers to actually purchase the bigger bedroom types. If you ask me, yes, because in recent times we saw a shift in buyers' behavior in going for the bigger bedroom types. So if you take a look at Penrith, take a look at Skye, the bigger bedroom types actually move faster than the smaller bedroom types. If you take a look at performance, dairy farm residences have already transacted profitability records, sub-sale transactions, and the 4 bedrooms have done up to more than $500,000 profit margin on average. So of course, developers would based on track record, they will think that the 5-bedders are quite profitable, which is why they are able to load the premium on the bigger bedroom types. Moving to the second reason, which is probably that the developer wants to incentivize buyers to enter at launch day prices and then progressively stage up the prices as it reaches certain milestones. So we have seen this in projects such as Florence and even Treasure at Tampines. So for example, let me take up one very clear-cut example. This was Treasure at Tampines. In the first phase of launch, this 3-bedder 1033 square feet was actually sold at 1.384 million. Less than 2 years later, in the second phase of launch, the developer actually progressively staged up the prices. It actually increased the price by 52,000 for only 2 floors above. That is about $25,000 jump per level, whereby on average it should be doing about maybe 9 to 13,000. In the last phase, even though this 3-bedder is slightly larger, we compare by PSF, it was a 32% increase in PSF for a 3-bedder unit that is facing the slip road to the highway. Okay, as compared to earlier phase 1, there's a pool facing unit. So this actually shows you that progressively, if you enter earlier and very close to the developer's break-even, you can be rest assured that the developer will help you do the staging up. Even without selling, there is already a price increment. So this buyer that entered the first phase, they were able to exit in 2023 at a profit margin of close to $400,000, okay, sub-sale, without doing anything. So this staging up actually helps you if you are especially looking for own stage, yet at the same time you don't want to overpay, you want to have a sort of an exit strategy in future. Okay, so if we take a look at the surrounding dairy farm area, 2 units of the 4 bedrooms have already been transacted at 2.6 million, which is the average transaction for 4 bedrooms at Botany. Hey, but for Narra, our 4 bedrooms are starting from 2.4 million. That's $200,000 cheaper. So if you haven't entered into a dairy farm area, this is a perfect opportunity for you. Because of harmonization, you are able to enter even cheaper than your earlier neighbors. But the only scary price is of course the 5 bedroom starting from 3.8 million, whereby Botany's 5 bedroom is only doing about 3 million on average. Although the size is very different. Example, I moved to Botany, 3 bedrooms. I think the earlier buyers of Botany will be slightly salty, but I'll touch on that later. A similar 3 bedroom with flexi or a study area transacted at an average of 2.1 mil in Botany. This was just 1.5 years to 2 years ago. The same unit, so if you take a look, it's exactly the same 13 square meter master bedroom, 9 square meter common bedrooms, maybe living room slightly smaller, but you still get the 3 meter frontage, you still get the flexi or study area. This on average should set you back only $1.918 million. Okay, that's again about $200,000 saving. So if you're a Botany buyer and you're looking at this, you're like, shit, can I scam my agent? Of course not. If you actually think a bit in terms of own stay perspective, while Narra is taking another 3 to 4 years to actually construct, this rental of, if I take it back, 3 bedrooms, 4,500 on average, 48 months, you are actually looking at a rental of $200,000. And instead of paying this to someone else, you are able to actually move into Botany already. So of course, ultimately, it depends on what your objectives were. If you were buying for own stay, I don't think it's so much of an issue. Before I end this video, it's a very long video, but before I end this video, I wanted to touch on whether Narra is still a good buy, given that the prices seem to be suspiciously attractive. Okay, so the short answer is of course yes, if you are looking at a mid to long term range of 7 to 10 years exit strategy. Not so much if you are looking for a quick flip, because there will be subsequent plots of land coming up and it will take some time for the prices to stabilize out. Usually we never guarantee our clients how much profits they will make, but we always guarantee the same price gap that you're entering in between yourself and the neighboring projects, as well as past precedents. So today Narra presents a golden opportunity as it's launching very closely to EC prices such as Orel and even Otto, which has both crossed 1,009 per square foot. So in general, why do people always chong to buy ECs? It's mainly because of the strong profitability track record as a result of it being priced 20 to 30% cheaper than the private resale in that area. Hey, but when it sells after MOP, it is actually able to sell at private resale prices, which translates to the very strong profitability. This kind of safe entry price gives Singaporeans the assurance, but not every Singaporean qualifies for it. So if today you're in a bracket whereby you're exceeded the 16K income, you want something that is similarly priced so safely, then this is a possible product for you to consider, and you can potentially get a private condo at a similarly safe entry price as an executive condo. And the last time we saw this narrowing price gap, so in general it's about 20 to 30%, the last time we saw less than 20%, that means 10% or even lower, was between Ola and Treasure at Tampines. So back then, okay, in May 2020, the price gap actually shrunk to 10% only, and as a result, Treasure at Tampines, even though it's a project that has a lot of objections, we took very long to sell, okay, it did 100% profitability track record. On average, these are the track record: 3 bedrooms making close to 400,000, 4 bedrooms more than 500,000, 5 bedrooms 780,000, and these are only the averages. If I were to really show you the top transactions, the 5 bedrooms actually make more than $1 million for a project that took very long to sell by developer and not close to the MRT. So that's it, that's my honest take on Narra. If you found this video to be beneficial in your property decision, do give us a like, share and subscribe for more similar content like this. So we did not touch on very boring project details such as the developers and floor plan, but if you would like to find out more, do reach out for the full details. The preview is happening on the 17th of January. And if you are keen to take a look at the show flat, do not hesitate to reach out to us. This is Dexter, your preferred Gen Z realtor, and I'll see all of you soon.